Welcome to your Daily Writing Habit, episode number 646. If you are writing a book or thinking about it, or maybe you've started writing your book but you're having some trouble getting it done, you are in the right place. Good morning. Happy Monday, everyone. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh. If you're looking for me online, look for Christine Inc., like that stuff we write with. Each day, I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 19 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author, and they have the ability to turn a quote-unquote non-author into a published one. Those three things are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. Here's today's quote. When brainstorming, encourage wild and crazy ideas. Nonsense often leads to ideas that make perfect sense. Sam Harrison. And once again, good morning, everyone. And yeah, let's talk brainstorming today, especially brainstorming in ways, using strategies that get problems and blocks out of your head and out into the open where they're easier to see and to solve. And I'm thinking of the 1980s movie Big for some reason. It's about a kid who is frustrated by being too small, so he goes to the fairgrounds. I guess like the local county fair was coming through town. He asks a mysterious fortune-telling machine named Zoltar to make him big. And I feel like I'm not spoiling it for most of you at this point. I think if you haven't seen this movie now, maybe you're not interested. It's been around for a very long time. But the next day, the kid wakes up in his bunk bed as fully grown Tom Hanks, and the hilarity ensues from there. So it occurred to me that my brainstorming mind kind of works like the Zoltar machine, but with a twist. Rather than outright asking it to give me stuff, I do enjoy posing questions for my brain to figure out. So it's like, you leave the Zoltar machine and let it work out its magic and come back later, it'll tell you what to do. So that's why it reminds me of that. So sometimes if I'm asking a question like, what is the intersection of memoir and message in client X's book? I might ask it a question like that rather than just beating my head against the wall until I figure it out myself. And then, like the kid in the movie Big, I walk away. That's right. I leave my own internal Zoltar to work it out. Not indefinitely, of course, but usually for at least a day. It just depends on, the timeline of the project. But I try to give Zoltar, all the time he needs to help me work out the answer. The key with this brainstorming technique is to recognize the infinite creative problem-solving abilities of your brain and resist the urge to constantly be forcing it into submission, to control it, to try to bend it to your will. When contemplating a problem, including dealing with writer's block, that's definitely problematic, give your brain room to breathe, especially at the beginning of the brainstorming process when things are still spinning around in your head. That's the worst time I find to try to force things, at the beginning of the process. Think of your brain as your own internal Zoltar, or you can call it whatever you want. When you try to force answers, especially obsessively, Zoltar basically tells you, hey, I'm trying to figure it out. Get out of my way. Let me do it. Go away. I'm Zoltar. I'm doing stuff. So don't beat yourself up in the name of forcing a fast answer. Another way I like to brainstorm in a way that gets me out of my head includes masterminding with others, whether fellow authors or enlisting a mentor or a coach, really, finding someone else to talk with. And that's why I have my Inc. Authors group that I'll mention later. And a third way that I brainstorm in a way, again, to get everything out of my head and into the sunlight is through mind mapping. And if you've never heard of it, it's super easy to Google mind, M-I-N-D, mapping. In the context of brainstorming, you can use mind mapping to break down the problem you're trying to solve into pieces, from its biggest pieces, diagramming all the way to its smallest. Again, if you Google mind mapping, you'll find a whole bunch of resources and images and all sorts of, even apps to help you. For me, mind mapping helps brainstorm by getting problems out of my head onto paper using a combination of words and diagrams. So that way you don't have to choose between words and pictures. Mind mapping does both. So that works really well for me too. So I hope these are useful strategies. And as I briefly mentioned, I have my Inc. Authors group on Facebook. I always drop a link to it in the show notes. And if you name your internal Zoltar, let us all know what you name it. What's your Zoltar called? Tell us all in Inc. Authors on Facebook. Thank you for joining me here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. Until tomorrow, happy writing.